So the Prorata Rights is the right that an investor can have to actually keep the percentage ownership in a company. So let's say an investor puts 200K in a 2 million deal. That means that he has 10% of the company. And suddenly in a follow-on round, you have 5 million raised, for example. And then that means that to keep this ownership percentage, you need to put 500 more K. Some people can make it, some people can't. So the first part is important to know whether you have more money to invest. The second part is also important to know whether you want to go for a deal that is more expensive. In some cases, angels would rather, spread their money in many deals and go for cheaper deals than go for a markup deal. So I think that I'll have to say that previously, pro-rata rights were not as important, and a few, or I would say half of the angels didn't go for pro-rata rights. Things are changing dramatically because, first of all, I think angels collectively have more powers. We are more organized, and we're getting into almost micro VCs, and actually the Rising Tide Fund is one example of it. We're getting collective power so that we have more negotiation power. And another thing that's happening is that the companies are getting much bigger, much faster. So we really want to be part of that value increase and really need to capture that. So for that, I think pro-rata rights are becoming much more valuable, and angels and early stage fund trying to negotiate that. So there's a little bit of, back and forth between later stage investors who really want to have more to say and have a big participation, and sometimes don't want to have early stage investors with a lot of pro-rata rights. And sometimes, the later stage investors might be okay with saying like, okay, I want the early stage investors to signal that this is still a good deal and they're still on. So there's a lot of back and forth. But what I've seen lately, as I mentioned, if you are Facebook or a Uber, and you know that there's a subsequent round there, and you know that there's a lot of money being raised, and as a fund you don't have the money to go for your pro-rata rights. A lot of companies and funds are actually selling those, and the LPs are actually taking over those pro-rata rights, because if you have a nice company in your investment and in your investment portfolio that grows fast, you want to have a part of that cake.
So is that something that you would agree up front with the founder in their term sheet, that the pro-rata rights could be assignable or could be sold?
Yeah, in our case, we as a Rising Tide Fund, we're going to decide to not do pro-rata not do follow-on funding in the fund, but we want to have right to the pro-rata rights, and actually we're going to be assigning those. So we're going to be assigning those to the LPs, and there's a lot of LPs who want those pro-rata rights. We're actually going to auction them. So they're extremely valuable if the company is good. So you always need to lean in on your best companies and raise the bet.